Hey everyone, I'm going to take a look at the 3 players that have been added to eFootball recently. We've been given 3 players from Inter, and we've also had 4 players from other European clubs. I'm going to take a look at the players, see how good they are, give you some suggestions on how you can train them as well. As always, I'll put timestamps in the description, so if there's a particular player you want to hear about, just click the description and there'll be a link to take you straight to them. So we'll start with Lewandowski. Lewandowski we all got on Thursday. He was in our inboxes. You don't have to do anything to get him. There have been quite a lot of better versions of Lewandowski in the past. With the age that he's at, the stage of his career he's at, I think that's just happening naturally now, that they're not going to be too many versions of him. They're as good as the ones that we used to get. But if you don't already have a version of him that's better than this, it's still a decent card, a very usable card. The first thing to note, he's a goal poacher. And with a goal poacher, I always say this, I want a bit more pace on him. A goal poacher will always try and play off the shoulder of the last defender and make a lot of runs in behind the defence, so pace is pretty important for that. But that doesn't mean he's unusable by any means. He's still going to be very good at what he's best at, which is getting into good positions and taking chances. He's just not going to be so good at those, runs in behind the defence without more pace. But you can see where the qualities are. The offensive awareness is fantastic at 96, really, really high. Finishing 89 with the game plan boost. I'll go over 90. I'm going to go straight to the game plan boost. So if you've got one of the top managers, as you see there, into the 90s for finishing. Offensive awareness up to 99. That's insane. Ball control's good at 85. He's by no means a dribbler, obviously. We know this with Lewandowski, so he's not the quickest, not the best at dribbling. When you get the ball with him, you're going to need to be careful with him. Get your shots away pretty quickly, to be honest. And he's got a bit of physical ability. Physical contact gets to 80 with the game plan boost. Jumping 79, we'll see if we can get up to 80. Heading 83. You know what to expect from his skill set. First time shot, obviously, long range shooting, chip shot control, and then heading and acrobatic finishing, so he's decent from crosses. I've got a version of Lewandowski. I've had a couple. I've given him aerial superiority as well to make him better from crosses. I wouldn't say it makes him amazing in the air, to be honest. It makes him decent in the air. It does help, of course. To be honest, I've mainly noticed it from long balls forward, especially from goal kicks, launching it high down the field, bringing the ball down. It makes him better for that. I wouldn't say he necessarily need it though, but you certainly could look to put that on him. It's probably the first guy I'd look to put on him if I was going to put skill trainers on him. Otherwise, maybe it's one-touch pass or through passing, because his passing's not brilliant. But yeah, just to see what we could do if we were going to retrain him slightly. With that much offensive awareness, you could probably take that down. If we take a couple off there, still crazy high up going up to 97, but we keep that balance at the 80 mark, which is nice. If we can nudge his jumping up to 80 as well, that would be nice. Shooting's at 92, you could take a couple away from that, you still hit the 90 mark. What could we do? Get a couple on his lower body, a couple on his dribbling, that would do it. So there, we make him a bit tidier on the ball there, up to 88 for ball control. Get to 80 for speed, which is nice. And the jumping is nudged up to 80, so he's going to be pretty decent in the air. He's got a bit more speed about him, bit tidier on the ball, and still offensive awareness up to 97, finishing 90. So he's looking very good there. To be honest, if you weren't so bothered about the balance, you could nudge one off the balance there from dexterity. And you could give him 3 for passing and get his low pass up to the 70 mark. So you could do that as well. So just a couple of things you could do there with the way you train him. But either way, he's obviously not the quickest, not as quick as he used to be. But with the awareness as high as it is and his finishing, if you don't already have a better version of him for a free card, this is a really, really good card. He will get goals for you. So yeah, it's not the best version of Lewandowski, but certainly looking at it in isolation, it's a pretty good, strong card. And next we have Joe Gomez from Liverpool. So with Gomez, 2 things to look at straight away. The good news is he's got very good speed for a centre-back. The bad news, jumping is not great. And there's actually worse news than that, because if you come down to the skills, with jumping that low, you're thinking, okay, does he have aerial superiority to make up for it? He doesn't. And he's also lacking other skills as well. So as a centre-back, interception, man marking, blocker, aerial superiority, you probably need those 4 at least, and then a 5th one maybe. Not sure what the 5th one would be you put on him, but those 4 I think are important skills you'd want to put on him if you're going to use him regularly. You've got left back and right back on his positions there. I don't think I'd be using him as a fullback. I don't think you can quite make him good enough in all areas. As you see, he's horrible on the ball, even if they allocate the points for fullback. I don't think I'd bother. I would keep him at centre back. And like I say, with those skills, especially aerial superiority, interception, those are an absolute necessity if you're going to use this guy regularly. But if we just hit the game plan boost here, as you can see, in terms of his attributes, outside of the jumping being a bit lacking, he does have some very strong defensive attributes. good passing for a centre-back as well, and as I mentioned at the start, very good speed for a centre-half. So a lot of qualities there with Gomez, to be honest. I think build-up, centre-half, those defensive attributes, the speed, good physical strength. I think if you do add the skills you need for this guy, it could be a very good centre-back card, to be honest. It's just those skills that really ruin him a bit. But 188, so he's 6'2", good physical contact. With aerial superiority, that I think that would make up for his jumping and make him decent enough in the air. And like I say, those other skills, interception, blocker, man marking, if you put those on him as well, I think you could have a very good centre-half card in your hand. So yeah, if you do put those skills on him, for a free card, potentially a very good centre-back, but I say potentially because without those skills, he is lacking pretty badly in one or two areas. And now we have Locatelli. So I've had a couple of versions of Locatelli, both orchestrated, both pretty similar to this card, to be honest, and I've been pretty pleased with mine. He's a bit of an all-rounder for me. I like to play with a double pivot. I have someone like usually Davids or someone else alongside an orchestrator and destroyer. Two of my favourite play styles for the two players in my double pivot, maybe box to box sometimes. But yeah, this guy for me has been solid. He can do a bit of everything. You can train him one or two different ways. The way the auto allocation has got him here, if we get the game plan boost straight away, so again, this is with the top manager. This is the best you can make this guy. So with this allocation, as you can see, strong defensively on the left, pretty strong technically as well for a defence midfielder, pretty sound. Pace is pretty average. He's got decent physical contact. Stamina's pretty good. I think if you're going all out defensive, I would just leave the auto allocation as it is. I think it's fine. I think if you wanted to do defending for you, he does. If you look at the skills down here, he's got interception, he's got sliding tackle. You might want to put a couple more in, maybe his man marking, maybe his blocker or aerial superiority to really beef him up, pad him out as an out-and-out defensive midfielder. But on the ball, one-touch pass, through passing, weighted, low lofted. Got some very good passing, very tidy technically. So yeah, he's a pretty good, solid defense midfielder. If you wanted to really focus on his technical ability and you weren't too worried about the defensives, if you got one other midfielder in there doing a defensive work, maybe an anchorman, destroyer, whatever, you want to really kind of make this guy more of a playmaker. As you can see, they put quite a few points on his defending. So if we were to take some away from there, you could take 4 away and that frees up 12 points. I'll go straight to dexterity, just put 8 on there, I think. And that gives you more of an all-round build. You don't really need much more on here. If you're going for an all-round build, already pretty sound down the left. Still 80 plus in all the defenses, but now we've got a bunch more balance, offensive awareness, and a bit more acceleration as well for a bit more mobility. So there's an all-round build. That's roughly what I would do. I think that's pretty much how mine is trained, the one that I've got to be using a double pivot. So that could be a pretty solid build as well. And then if you wanted to really focus even more on his technical ability, you could take even more of his defending. How high can we get his passing? Can we get up to 90? Let me see. Take the aerial off. Maybe you could just take 2 off the aerial. Leave that at 80. There's 1 more in his passing. We've got 2 left. Where do we put those 2 points? Dribbling, maybe? Let's put one as dribbling. Yeah, so you could do that. So that, as you can see there, you can get his low and lofted pass both up to 90 plus. Still tidy on the ball. Still a bit of defensive ability. He's got, like I say, he's got the interception, sliding tackle down there. And he's got a bit more mobility about him as well. He's still got 80 physical contact and good stamina. So, yeah, if you're going to play him as a centre midfielder with the orchestrator playing style, kind of a deep line playmaker, can have some very nice passing on him with the attributes and the skills that we just looked at. And he's got a bit of defensive ability as well. So, like I say, there's a few different ways you can train him. Whether you want him as an out-and-out defensive midfielder, more of a playmaker further up the pitch, or something in between the all-rounder build. I think you've got 3 different ways you could build him, really. And again, for a free card, I think this is a really, really good card. I've enjoyed using the version of Locatelli that I've got. I think he's a pretty effective player. So yeah, if you don't already have a good version of him for a free card, I think this is a pretty decent card to pick up. And the last of these European clubs freebies, we've got Hakimi from PSG. So we'll get straight to it with Hakimi with his main strength. Crazy speed, crazy stamina. It's what you expect from Hakimi. So he's going to get up and down that right flank at speed. That's fantastic for a fullback, but what else have we got? Defensive ability, yes. The awareness, it'd be nice if we got that up to the 80 mark. We're going to hit the game plan boost in the moment, but he's certainly got some decent defensive attributes there. That left column, though, that's where the concern is. Different people do have different views on what's important and what's not for a fullback. There are people who aren't too bothered about this left column, and they might be happy enough with that. If that's the case, good for you, that's fine. But for me personally, especially these two in the 60s, tight possession and low pass, those are awful. So they really concern me. So the first thing I'm going to do with this guy, we'll hit the game plan boost so we know what we're working with. If you've got a good enough manager, this is how good he can get. Again, speed and acceleration up to 99 is crazy. But we don't need that much. I think on a fullback, if we nudge this down, we'll keep the kicking power at 80. I do like a bit of kicking power. And then we're still in the mid-90s for speed and acceleration. And stamina. But we've got 16 points freed up. So how good can we make him technically? If we go up to 8 on both of these. So you can make him quite a bit better. Do we need all that aerial? I think we could nick a couple of those off aerial. In fact, if we take 3 off aerial, we can get all his defensives to 80 plus. I'd probably do that. And in fact, I'm going to nick one from passing and put it on dexterity. So then the acceleration gets the 90 mark. I think if I got this guy, obviously I've got all these free cards. We're all getting them. But if I was going to keep him, this would probably be the build. So it's great pace, great stamina. Defensively solid, all 80 plus down there. We've made it a bit better technically. Still got iffy tight possession though. And then with the passing again, we've improved it, but still the low pass is 73. You're going to have to be very careful on the ball with this guy, not to concede possession. Keep your passes very simple. Don't try any crazy long range passes or passing it when you're off balance, because you will get found out. You do not want to give the ball away in those fullback positions. The physical contact's all right for a fullback. Balance is okay as well. But yeah, there's plenty of qualities there. Just a couple of things to really look out for. Another thing to keep your eye on with this guy, he's a fullback finisher. So what that means as a fullback is that he's not only going to get forward, he's going to drift inside as well. So he's going to vacate his position, try and get involved in the midfield. Some people like that, some people don't. If you like that, great, could be a good card for you. But if you don't like that playing style, and I don't personally, then he could be one that you're not a fan of. Also keep in mind that form, he's had some great form for PSG, so that's a plus point. The one thing we've not looked at so far, the skills. So going forward, a few skill moves, pinpoint crossing, so that's good going forward. And then defensively, acrobatic clearance, fighting spirit, sliding tackle, 3 important skills to have. But I always say it on a fullback, there's no interception. That's a big miss. So if you get this guy, and if you like the look of him, you're planning on using him regularly, I think skill-wise, interception is the first skill you're going to want to put on him. I think that's a very important one. Maybe he's man marking, maybe he's blocker, but I think interception especially, that's the first one I'd like to get on him. But yeah, if you're okay with the play style, and if you're okay with the tight possession, low pass being a bit on the low side, I think it could be a very good card to pick up. And for a freebie, yeah, pretty generous of Konami. But like I say, the playing style could be a concern for some people, and do be very careful with the tight possession and the low pass, because you could easily get found out. But there's enough qualities there. This is another very good card to be given for a freebie. So onto the Inter Milan cards now. There are 5 available. We get 3 of them for free. They don't normally do this, Konami, but the remaining ones you can actually spin them, 100 coins a pop, which I think is pretty decent. So keep that in mind. If you get your 3 free Inter players and you don't get the ones you want, you can get the last 2 by spinning for them, 100 coins a pop. But we'll start with Çalhanoğlu. I got this guy. I don't know why, but every time Çalhanoğlu's in the pack, I always get him. So this is my 3rd Çalhanoğlu, and I don't even have the one from the penalty game yet, so that's going to be 4. I will mention that one from the penalty game. If you've got the one from the penalty game, or if you've not yet, you obviously will at some point. If you compare it to this one, they're very similar. They're virtually the same. So if you've got the one already, you don't really need this one, and vice versa. They're pretty much the same. So keep that in mind. But yeah, with Çalhanoğlu, orchestrated playing style, same play style as Locatelli, who we looked at a few minutes ago. As a defensive midfielder, not for me. I don't think he's got the defensive ability or the physical contact. I would not like him in that area of the pitch. Even if there's someone alongside him who's defensively strong, I prefer him as a centre midfielder, as that deep line playmaker, sort of roaming around the middle of the park playmaking. Then with 1 or 2 midfielders behind him doing the defensive work, you can focus on what he's good at, which is obviously the technical side of things, and he is brilliant technically, especially with that passing. We'll hit the game plan boost. So, as you can see, there's some fantastic attributes down the left. Kicking power as well over on the right. He's not the quickest though. There have been quicker versions. I've got a player of the week one from, I think it's probably the best part a year ago now, and I've used that one a lot, and he's got speed and acceleration both over 80. So he's got significantly more pace than this one. It seems like pretty much every version of Çalhanoğlu these days is lacking in pace, so it's something to keep in mind. Obviously on his position chart up here, he can play out wide, but I would not put someone out wide with that little pace. I think he's way too slow. And while we're looking at that part of the screen, that form is fantastic. He always seems to have form, so that's a big plus with any version of Çalhanoğlu. But yeah, lack of pace, so I'll put him through the middle personally. Like I say, as a centre midfielder, that I think he's very effective there. If you've got one or two behind him doing the defensive work. In terms of the way he's been trained, he could keep his passing at 90 plus, but free up 11 points there. Just think it could be beefing up defensively a little bit. He's got 4 in defending already. Another 4. I mean, even if you go up to 9 there, put all those points on defending, he's still got 69 for tackling. It's not great. We need a couple from dribbling. At least now we get him to 70 plus for all the defensives, and then put 2 on, I guess, aerial maybe. Yeah, if I'm playing centre mid, I'm probably going to do something along those lines. So he's got a bit more defensive ability, even with 1 or 2 midfielders behind him in that area of the pitch. You're still going to need to be able to put your foot in and make a tackle now and then. So yeah, I would probably do that if I'm playing with a centre mid. But as I mentioned before, not strong enough to play DMF in my opinion. Left and right, not got the pace, but he does a other position. That's attacking midfield. That's where I would personally use him with this card. So for that position, forget about defending. I'll take all those points back. Thank you very much. And then I'd probably give him a bit more dexterity. I think what's an efficient way of using him, because once you get past 8, the next 4 are 3 points each. To be honest, I'd be tempted to just get his speed up to 80. And that kicking power goes up to 98. Wow. Yeah, I'd probably be tempted to do that with my build, to be honest. You don't need that much pace as an attack midfielder, but you can be very, very tidy there with a bit more mobility about him. Crazy kicking power, stamina as well. Very high stamina for an attacking midfielder. And he's 90 plus on a whole bunch of the attributes as well. But what you could also do, if we just took a couple back from lower body there, we could get his finishing up to 80 and his place kick and curl there, both over 90. And we've got 2 points left. Stick on dribbling. You could do that as well. So you don't lose much off his speed. Still got crazy kicking power, really good stamina at 90, but getting his finishing up to 80. If we look down to the skills here, long range drive, long range shooting, knuckle shot, dipping shot. So he's got a shot on him, some nice shooting skills, through passing, weighted pass, pinpoint crossing, outside curler. He can shoot, he can pass. So getting that finishing up to 80 now, still 90 plus low enough to pass. Free kicks 90 plus. That's similar to what I've got on my Player of the Week version. He's got fantastic free kicks on him. Really, really fun from free kicks. Very tidy on the ball. Very good offensive awareness for an attack midfielder. Not the quickest, but still not the slowest either. Like I say, I think for an attack midfielder, that's okay for pace. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. Great, crazy kicking power. Balance is decent. Stamina's great. As an attack midfielder, as you see here, these numbers aren't always 100% accurate, but they're at least near enough. 100 rated, it's saying there for attack midfielder. That says it all. In that position, one hell of a card this. So yeah, if you've not got a good version of Çalhanoğlu already, this is a fantastic card. Like I mentioned with the daily penalty game one that we're all getting for free, with that one, it's virtually the same as this one. So if you've got that one, you probably don't need this one, and vice versa. But just looking at this card in isolation, you can use him as a very good centre midfielder, and as an attack midfielder, I think he's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, again, for a free card, if this is one you get, really, really good. And if you don't get him as the free one, and if you've got the coins and you want him for 100 coins or 200 coins, whatever it costs you to get him, really, really good card. This fantastic. So next we have Barella. This guy I love. This is one of the first players I signed on eFootball, his GP card. I eventually got a featured version of him, which I used a lot, and it's brilliant. And this one's pretty much the same, so I expect this one to be brilliant as well. So as you can see, he's a box-to-box midfielder, and he's just good at everything. There's nothing particularly outstanding. Got great stamina, but he's just good at everything. He's quite small, he's nimble, he's responsive, he's nice on the ball. Bit of pace about him, he can defend, he's technically very tidy, very capable with his passing especially. We get the game plan boost there, as you see. Great passing, goes past 90. Personally, I would just slightly tweak the way he's trained, so I'd probably take a bit away from low body. You don't need that much on his stamina. We'll keep his kicking power at 80, still in the 80s for speed, still over 90 for stamina. I'd like a bit more defensive ability. So we get his defensive awareness up to 80. What else will I do? Not a lot. Maybe stick that on shooting, to be honest. In fact, I'll just put 3 on shooting, get that to 70. I'll stick one on aerial. Yeah, I'd probably do that, to be honest. So, yeah, as you can see there, technically very tidy, great passing, defensively 80 plus everywhere, very aggressive. Not the best physical contact. He's a small guy. He's not the biggest. So do keep that in mind. If your opponent's got like Hullet, Vieira, players like that, he's going to get smashed around a bit. But he's a really good player regardless. I've never really felt like he's not strong enough. I think with how quick and nimble he is, he makes up for it. Great balance there, as you can see, and the stamina. I think the only other thing I would suggest you could potentially do is if you nicked a couple from passing there, and then nicked maybe there's a couple more, just nick 2 off there. Is that enough? I'm just thinking this dexterity. Yeah, you could get his offensive awareness up to 80 and his balance way up to 93 as well. I always say this with players, there aren't many centre midfielders who you can get to 80 plus for both offensive awareness and defensive awareness. I've had a few. I think Morata featured Goretzka as well, but you notice that, or I noticed that. You know, having a player who's responsive in both offensive and defensive situations when they're getting up and down the pitch, I do find that's really noticeable. So you might want to do that as well. There's a few ways you could just tweak the way his points are allocated. I don't think you'd want to really do anything too crazy compared to the auto allocation. So yeah, just a really, really good centre midfielder. Looking down the skills here, long range shooting, one-touch pass, pinpoint crossing. He's got trap back interception, acrobatic clearance. He's got a great section of skills for a centre mid. I think probably through passing, if I was going to put any skills on him, I would put through passing on him. I think that's the one thing he really misses. He is great even without it. I say that from experience. Defensively, you could maybe put man marking on him, blocker maybes. You can use him as a defensive mid. If you're going to use him as a defensive mid, you could nick a few points from these, from passing. I wouldn't take too many off actually. Certainly take some of that dexterity away again. You need a bit more physical contact. How high can we get that defending? You can get it a bit higher. Maybe just go up to there. Yes, maybe do that. You're going to play him defensive mid. Give him a bit more defensive abilities, maybe. And like I say, maybe look to put man marking on him. Maybe his blocker as well. And likewise, you can play him as an attacking mid if you wanted to do that. I think, to be honest, for me personally, that'd be a waste because he's so good as a centre mid, getting up and down the pitch, doing a bit of everything. But as an attacking mid, how good can we get him? Passing back up to 90. If 3 points left over, where are they going to go? Shooting. Yeah, so as an attacking mid, he'd be pretty good as well, but he's still got that defensive ability there. Like I said, I think to get the best out of him, he's so good as a box-to-box. That's how I'd use him. Maybe something like that. There's different ways you can do it. But whichever way you do it, like I say, it's just a fantastic card. He's a really good box-to-box centre midfielder. If you've not got a good version of him already, and if you get this card, fantastic. And again, like I said with Çalhanoğlu, if you don't get him from one of the 3-3-1s and you don't have a good centre midfielder, or you don't have a good version of Barella, for 100 coins, 200 coins, whatever it costs you to spin him, really, really good card this. So yeah, another generous freebie from Konami, to be honest. And next up we have Pavard. So Pavard used to be a right back, and he was one of those players who you could train him to play as a centre back and make him a really, really good centre back, much better at centre back than he was at full back. There are quite a few cards like that, full back cards. We've seen Dan Burn, did a video on Stefan Posch a while back, Diakate. He used to be one of those, but now they've changed him to a centre back, and unfortunately that trick doesn't work the other way because you can't make him that great as a full back. If you do train him as a full back, as you can see here with auto allocation, defensively strong, but the acceleration's low, not great technically. I wouldn't personally do that. I don't think you're really getting the best out of him as a fullback. So yeah, I think we're definitely going to be looking at this guy as a centre back. As a centre back, he's fairly strong. He's not amazing, but there's no major weakness. I think, to be honest, in terms of his attributes, the one attribute that I think is a bit on the low side is the physical contact. There is quite an important attribute for centre backs. 81 for me is a bit low. If we hit that game plan boost, see where we end up in the game plan. Pretty strong down the middle with the defensive attributes. Would be nice if tackling hit 90 like the rest of them, but still pretty good at 89. Speed of 80 is good for a centre back. Acceleration 69 is not so great, but with 80 for speed, I think that's okay on the whole. It's pretty decent, to be honest. Jump of 91 is great. He's about 6'1", and he does have aerial superiority, so he's going to be good in the air. He's got a pretty good selection of skills: man marking, interception, acrobatic clearance, aerial superiority, sliding tackle. I think blocker's the one you could really do with. He doesn't have heading, but I think with 83 heading, that's not a major miss. I wouldn't worry too much about not having heading, but certainly blocker, if you're playing him at centre-back, that's the one skill I think I'd look to put on him. Got a few over 70 down the left here, so technically it's pretty decent for a centre-back. Yeah, on the whole, pretty solid. I think that physical contact is the one thing for me that's a bit of a concern. And if you look at the way the points are allocated, it's hard to really get any points from elsewhere, to be honest, to really do much about that. I think I'd probably just stick with the auto allocation. So yeah, slight concern with physical contact, but otherwise pretty solid. The only other real concern I would have is that extra front man for me is not not a great play style for a centre back. It's just personal preference. If you do like that play style, great, it could be a good card for you. What I do on the rare occasions I use an extra front man. For example, I've got a Player of the Week Koundé card that I used to use in the Spanish League Challenge. Where if I didn't have any other centre backs to form, you could try putting the defensive instruction on him. When I've done it with Koundé, it does seem to work. So that's something you could try if you've got an instruction spare in your game plan. But yeah, just something to keep an eye on. Extra front man is not a play style for everyone. He's basically going to go wandering forward quite often, getting up into the midfield, wanting to get involved in the build-up. I personally prefer a build-up or maybe a destroyer, just because they're going to be more likely to stay in position. But outside of the playing style, and whether that's to your preference and the physical contact being a little bit on the low side, he does have a lot of strengths. And he's a pretty good centre-back on the whole. So yeah, like with a lot of these cards, it's a pretty good freebie. And now we have Dimarco. So this is another one that I like. I've had 2 featured Dimarco cards before. I was a big fan of the first one. When I got the second one, instead of doing a legacy transfer from the first to the second, I left one of them trained as a left back and the other one I trained as a left midfielder. The other position he's got in his chart here is centre back, but you can't really train to be a good enough centre back. You can get some of his attributes, most of them up to a decent level, but the fact his height's only 175 and he's not got many defensive skills, I don't think it's really worthwhile, even considering centre back. But left back and left midfield are definitely worth considering. So I'm going to go straight to the game plan. As you can see right off the bat with the auto allocation, 80 plus in all his defensives. He's got great pace, he's got fantastic kicking power, decent balance, good stamina. And then down the left here, I always like these technicals to all be 80 plus, but he's pretty close on a couple, and all the rest he's over 80. To be honest, I wouldn't do a great deal with the auto allocation. I would probably consider maybe taking a couple of lower body. This is just what my personal preference. Stamina's a bit iffy if you do that. I would just like to get a couple more on these technicals here. That would do it. In fact, you could free up a few. I don't think he needs all that aerial. If we did that, we could get one back on his lower body. Yeah, I'd maybe do that. Getting all these over 80, all the defensives over 80. Still great pace, great kicking power, decent balance. Stamina at 88. It's not bad at all. To be honest, for me, we'll just quickly look at his skills actually before I forget. So, long range shooting, knuckle and dipping shot, first time shot. He's got some shooting skills, which is nice on the fullbacks, a nice bonus. Weighted pass, pinpoint crossing, outside curler. He's got a great cross on him. 88 lofted pass, 83 curl, crazy kicking power. This guy has a very, very good cross. And then defensively, he's got interception. That's the most important one on the fullback, in my opinion. Acrobatic clearance as well. So yeah, there's a lot good that's good about this guy as a left back. He's a very, very good left back card. He's got great form as well, as you can see with a lot of these Inter players. Obviously, they won the league, so they've all been playing well. That playing style, though, keep an eye on that. Like with Hakimi, who we looked at earlier. A fullback finisher will stray from their position, drift inside, and they want to get involved in the build-up a lot, so they will vacate their position quite a bit. If you like that playing style, great. This is a really, really good left back card. If you're not such a fan of that playing style, and I'm not personally, it might be a bit of a concern. I've only used the left back version of Dimarco that I've got in the Italian League Challenge when I really needed a left back, and I don't like the movement. Sometimes when going forward, it's great. You can pop up and really help out in attack, but it does leave you a bit exposed in the fullback position. You could possibly try putting anchoring on him on a fullback finisher and see if that helps. He'll still get forward quite a bit, but it might possibly help in terms of straying too far from his position. I've not tried that myself, but just an idea. But yeah, if that playing style is not a problem for you, like I say, very good left back if you train him to play that position. But like I said at the start when we started looking at this guy, you can train him to play left midfield as well. So if he's playing left midfield, I'll take all those points back from defending. Thank you very much. Where are we going to put them? Let's get his lofted pass up to 90. Oof. I don't think stamina's quite so important on a winger. What do we want? We want some dexterity. I know we've got 4 points left. 1 on finishing. I'll go 2 on finishing and then nudge his passing up. No, it's passing. It's dribbling up 1 more. I'll maybe do that. So, still got great pace with this speed and acceleration, 90 plus. Still got fantastic kicking power. Good balance. Stamina's okay. He might get a bit tired later on, but it's not too bad. The physical contact and defensives are good for a winger. Down the left here, on the ball tight. He's not much of a dribbler, but very good ball control. And then we just nudged his lofted pass up there. So 90 for lofted pass, 85 curl, 95 kicking power and pinpoint crossing. He's going to have a fantastic cross on him. And an offensive awareness of 80 is good for a winger as well. So it's very much whether he's your type of winger. Similar to if you have him as a left back. If a fullback finisher is not your playing style, he might not be your cup of tea. But if it is, he's great as a left back. And then likewise as a left winger. If you like your wingers to play, you know, like inverted wingers, a right footer on the left cutting inside and playing through balls and shooting and so on, he might not be your cup of tea. But if you're like an old school winger, a left footer on the left hand side, bombing up and down the touchline, whipping crosses in, he's fantastic. The version of him that I've got that's trained for left midfield, I've used him quite a few times in the Italian League Challenge as a left winger, and he's really, really good. So yeah, and you could use him as a wing back, to be honest, as well. That left midfield, different ways you can use a wide midfielder in a, you know, different formations. So if he was going to be as a wing back, I think you would need a bit more stamina. So I would maybe take a couple back off passing there, take those two away for now. Maybe nick one off dribbling. How many more can we get on there? Maybe just take that as well. Oh, maybe do that. So if you play wing backs 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, that kind of formation where you have a wide midfielder on each side without a fullback, so he's a kind of a wing back in that kind of a role, I think I'd probably do that. So you get the stamina up to the 90 mark, which is fantastic. Still fantastic pace, crazy kicking power. You could maybe do it a bit more defensive, to be honest. Could you free up the points for that? Probably. Maybe you could just do that. Something like that. You could make him a very effective wing back. But yeah, lots of ways you could train this guy. But like I say, left back depends on his playing style. Left wing depends if he's your type of winger. But if he does suit you in either of those positions, attacking left winger, wing back, or as a full back, really, really good card this. So if you don't have a good version of him already, I would think most people could find a use for him. It could be a very, very valuable card for you. And we finish up with what I personally believe is probably the best card out of all these freebies. So it's a decent version of Lautaro. We've had a lot of featured Lautaros in the game. At 96, this actually is probably one of the better ones. There have been quite a few lower than that. There have been a few around that level. I think one or two have been around 97. But this is a pretty good version of him. So for a freebie, it's pretty impressive. With the auto allocation, again, this is a goal poacher. So with a goal poacher wanting to get in behind the defence, making those runs forward, playing off the shoulder of the last defender, I like a lot more speed than that. So that's a bit of a downside. We'll go straight to that game plan boost. So 78, not disastrously slow, but like with Lewandowski, as a goal poacher, I think you do need a bit more speed personally. You could stick with this, you know, with the auto allocation. I'm sure you get by fine. It depends how you're going to use him. Everyone's got their own, you know, formation, playing style and everything else. If it works for you, great. He's got plenty of qualities. The offensive awareness is brilliant, just like Lewandowski. Finishing as well, 94. Acceleration is great. Balance is great. One thing with Lautaro, ever since he was a youngster on PES, back in the PES days, he's always been deceptively decent in the air. He can get on the end of crosses. He's decent at heading. So he's got a bit of that aerial and physical ability. Decent kicking power. He's not brilliant on the ball, but if you look at those attributes there, I always find that he feels a little bit better on the ball than those attributes suggest. But he's by no means a dribbler, so keep that in mind. They're not great passing either, but in terms of the way his points are allocated, you could afford to take 4 away from here. How many points can we free up? So we'll leave his finishing at 90 still. It'd be a shame to reduce the dexterity. You could easily lose a bunch off his offensive awareness, but I don't really want to go below the 90 mark on acceleration or balance. But if we do really need to boost his speed a bit, I'm just going to take 4 off there for now. That speed then can go up to 86. In fact, if I take just 1 away from there, we can get his low pass up to 70. Yeah, maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. I would maybe do that. So as a goal poacher with that bit more pace now, got his speed up from 78 to 85. I think that's worth doing personally. I think still he's not going to be much of a dribbler, but the offensive awareness still in the 90s, finishing still at 90. Still reasonable from crosses, good balance, good kicking power, better pace now, and stamina's good as well for a striker. I personally would probably build him something like that. again with these Inter players, as you can see, loads of good form, so that's good, although we are late in the season now. Coming down and looking at his skills, I think we all know what to expect from Lautaro. First time shot, acrobatic finishing, long range shooting. He's got heading as well, like I say, not bad from crosses. He's got all the skills you really need from a poacher. You could, like with Lewandowski, you could put aerial superiority on him, make him even better from crosses. Maybe his one-touch pass and through passing. Again, his passing is very, very similar to the Lewandowski, so you might want to put those skills on him if you are going to put some skills on him. But this is a good version of Lautaro. Whether you use the auto allocation, just focus on his ability to be in the right place at the right time and finish, or if you want a bit more pace on him, like I would, to make the most of that goal poacher playing style. I think this is another very generous freebie from Konami if you get this guy for free. And if you don't have a good version of him, if you like to look at this and you don't get him from the 3 freebies, you can, of course, spin the last 2 players from that pack, as I mentioned at the start, which I think is pretty decent. So it'll only cost you 100 or 200 coins, and if he's someone you want, I think that's pretty cheap, because this is a very, very good striker card. So yeah, lots of very decent freebies in these 2 packs, but this is, in my opinion, probably the best one, certainly one of the best. So yeah, very good centre forward card. So that is all the free players, the 2 selections. I think there's some pretty decent ones in there, to be honest, for freebies from Konami, or even if it's the last 1 or 2 in the Inter pack that you end up having to spend a few coins on. I think there's some really good value to be had. They're not all going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think most of us will find at least 1 or 2 out of these players that will be very usable and give us some good value. So yeah, pretty decent. A couple of people have been asking me recently over the last few weeks about a Discord. Someone asked in the comments of my last video. I have been sent up today, so I'll put a link in the description. If you want to join that Discord, that would be great. There's not much going on in there yet, obviously. I've not invited anyone to it yet, but hopefully we'll get some conversation going in there around packs and training and tips and so on. And also, if you're wondering how I've been getting on my never-ending quest to get SS on Rui Costa, not very well. I've used every position trainer on him so far, still not got it. So I'll keep you posted on that one, but no joy so far. But yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.